Can you all see it okay?
Yes.
Great. Thank you. So my thought is I'll introduce myself. I'm not sure if we need to introduce everyone on the phone, but I'd like this to be like very interactive. I'm deliberately not going to make this like salesy and be kind of selling to you. It's really like enablement to kind of help you understand what we have from a C4HANA perspective, how to position it in public sector, and I've got lots and lots of content from lots and lots of different presentations. I tried to pick up just kind of the most important stuff here. But if there's anything of interest for you in your region, just let me know and I can open up other presentations and go into that stuff in more detail. So my name is Paul O'Sullivan. I'm based in just Newtown Square office. I'm part of the public sector industry cloud team, the IBU, and I focus on customer experience and also cover grants management as well. But this is something that's near and dear to my heart. So with that, we'll start with a video, and hopefully this sound is going to work. So let's see here if this works now. Now, can you guys hear the music? So can you hear the sound that's coming with this?
Not yet.
Not yet? Okay, how do I... Oh, okay, let me play... So I hear it through my headset, but maybe I need to play it through the speaker here. 1 second. Let's try it again.
Christchurch embodies the very spirit of the greeting. It's a place where anything is possible, where adventure comes to life, and well-being drives everything we do. It's about being connected with our friends, with our families, with our citizens. That's why we reached out to SAP, who partnered with DXC to create a citizen-centric platform to revolutionize and transform the way we engage with our citizens. During the recent and catastrophic earthquake, we saw firsthand the strains outdated systems put on the community. It spurred us to rethink and reimagine what was possible. We knew from existing issues with reporting things like graffiti, rubbish, potholes, noise violations, stray dogs, and more, that our citizens were tired of the lengthy and often complicated processes of raising requests, having issues resolved, and providing feedback. So when we saw an opportunity to leverage the cloud and provide a tailored omni-channel service experience for our 380,000 citizens, we were all in. SAP and DXC went right to work, integrating SAP Commerce Cloud, Citizen Engagement Accelerator, and SAP Service Cloud to immediately transform the way we deliver 46 different services. SAP and DXC introduced a robust digital experience to enhance our citizen engagement. With innovative new tools such as citizen capture with real-time progress tracking, geospatial technologies, and predictive analysis tools, we are now able to tackle requests faster and take proactive measures in high-incident areas. Our business insight literally skyrocketed overnight. Across the board, we went from a multiple touchpoint interaction to an end-to-end service system with a single touchpoint and resolution often within hours, which made it easier for everyone to stay connected, and showed our citizens that we are deeply committed to improving our responsiveness and collaboration in order to provide the best service experience. Service that connects Christchurch and our citizens. Kia ora e
Okay. Go back to my... So hopefully you could hear that or hear some of that anyway. This is
Yes, we did, Paul.
Great. So this
where is Christ's church?
It's in New Zealand. Now, why I really like this story, I mean, they just went live late last year. So they're live and referenceable. They're a pretty happy customer. Obviously, a lot happened in Christchurch. You saw the earthquakes in there. Unfortunately, there was a terrorist incident last month, I believe, there as well. totally unrelated to this, but it's nice that it's a kind of a small to medium-sized city. It's like 380,000 citizens, so it's not one of these like large, huge mega cities that's got like limitless budgets. So it's a small to mid-sized city, and they innovated in the cloud. So they put in the Service Cloud, they put in the Commerce Cloud with the Citizen Accelerator, and they're innovating in the cloud. So this is really something that we can target at kind of any level of government. It doesn't have to be just the big national level or the really large mega cities. So it kind of scales very well.
What was the population you mentioned?
380,000. Or is it 360 or 380? So it's under 400,000.
Yeah, got it. Thank you.
So that's a nice size, a nice story. What I want to kind of draw your attention to, obviously, this, you don't have to understand everything on this slide, but this is from the market model that we use at SAP. I think some of these numbers came from Gartner. I think Gartner put this together, but Gartner essentially they're understanding where governments are going to be spending their money in the coming years. So this market model goes up to 2022. Let me just change my screen here. Can you? So up with the laser. So this goes up to 2022 here. And what we did is we kind of did some analysis, and Gartner gave us a lot of detail, but we broke it into three areas. One we're calling like the core value chain, which is the yellow, the support processes, which is kind of the gray color here, and then technology is the blue. So your technology, it's hard to read over here, but this is your databases, your integration tools, your analytics, that kind of hardcore technology stuff. The gray area, the support processes, this is your finance, your S4 finance, your Ariba, your Concur, so kind of the core back office processes. And then the core value chain is the front office stuff. So it's the service piece, the sales, the marketing, the commerce, as well as the industry specific stuff like what do governments do? They collect taxes, so it's the tax software. It's the we do social benefits, we do grants. So this is the core value of government, and this is primarily the CRM or the C4 or the CX suite. So when you look at the numbers, you can see that essentially, the CX suite is going to be 42% of where the government are spending their money, and technology is 43%. I mean, they're spending a lot of money in moving over to cloud and database technology. So they're really the two big areas of growth for SAP. So obviously SAP, our legacy has been in the support processes, and we do dominate this market. We're pretty much number one in ERP and Ariba and SuccessFactors, but we've got a lot of ground to make up in the core value chain in CRM. So this is why we've made, in my opinion, all these acquisitions recently with, Calidus, obviously with Qualtrics, with Core Systems, with Hybris. So we're really, as a company, we're going after this, core value chain, C4, because it's where the money is, where we're chasing the money. So obviously, we're going to continue to protect and grow and enhance and develop the kind of the core support processes like the S4, but we really have to get a bigger piece of the pie in the core value chain and the CX. So that's what I want to kind of say, and what we're looking for in our view is we want the field to kind of invest in it as well. For our partners and for the field, when I don't know all the numbers globally, but when I look in the Americas where I live, I mean, there's more people working in support processes. We've got more reps for Ariba, for Concur, for SuccessFactors than we have for CX. So there's probably, like in the federal and state and local and the public sector, there could be maybe 20 reps working on support processes, and that's 15% of the market, where we only have one or two people working on core value chain, which is 42% of the market. So you would expect there to be more people, or at least a similar number, working in the core value chain. So I think we need to invest more in the core value chain and kind of grow that market. We have to make an investment in people and resources to really target that. So hopefully this enablement will kind of say, hey, we've got a really good product. Christchurch being a great example here. We have a very competitive solution, and we're going to go into all the solutions we have. And again, this is going to be very honest. We will talk about, what our strengths are, what our weaknesses, how we position things. But we've got a really good solution to work on here. Again, this is we have a BTS slide from Christchurch. So that video that I shared, it's public. It's on YouTube. The link is in this presentation, which I'll share with you. Please share this with all your customers, with your partners. Get that story out there. And again, we have this BTS slide. They spoke at CX Live last year, and that video is also on the internet. So this lady here, Dana Burnett, she's the My City Council program manager. So she was at CX Live last year. She gave a nice 20-minute video that's on the web, and you can watch this. And it really talks about the transformation that they did, the benefits that they received. So we tried to summarize it into one slide here, but now they're live with 46 services on the website. They've got this digital interface. You can see this person here on their phone. But what they've done is, the most common processes that you see in public sector, at a city or county level, like reporting potholes, road repairs, traffic, graffiti, stuff like that. They've got online bill payment as well, so they can pay their bills and stuff online. And they went after this with a mobile first approach. So we're going to talk later on about the Citizen Engagement Accelerator. And that's built like responsive design, but it's got a mobile first paradigm. So now citizens, and they've integrated to their GIS system. So from their mobile phones or their iPads, when they're out and about, they can report create a ticket, report an issue, take a picture with their phone, tag their current location, and now that's going to appear. You kind of saw this in the video as well. They had the map with all the icons where the issues were. One of the big things that they did as well is that they streamlined their internal processes. So I think a lot of time the temptation is, okay, I'm going to put in new technology and I'm going to use that technology with my old broken back-end processes, whereas we've got a lot of best practices built into C4 and to S4, and they really took those to heart. So some of their processes have gone from taking like 20 to 30 days down to 2 days. So besides putting in the digital interface and the digital processes, they streamlined their workflows. They streamlined the processes. So now for these 46 different services, in the past, each one had its own unique process, its own unique workflow. They tried to streamline, remove as many of those steps as possible. So as I said, they've gone from like 20 days to do some of these services down to a day or 2 days, which has been a huge improvement. So again, very happy. And again, here down here is the population, 380,000. So not a huge city, but they're doing everything in the cloud.
Well,
Yep.
hello, good morning. I would like to know, in this particular case, how we position ourselves, because we're seeing lots of RFP out there requiring citizen services that make a lot of noise or a lot of requirements around interoperability, interconnectivity, and all about integration. So what is really our offering, aside from our really good solutioning on the front end? How do we play when the RFPs are requiring not just the front end, but a lot of integration or bits and pieces of the back end as well?
We'll kind of come to that later on. So when we go into the stack, we'll talk about that. But this customer did have SAP ERP in the back end for some of their processes. But we also did connect to other systems as well. So we'll talk about that when we get to the C4, but we would use the integration to connect to the backend systems. We specifically designed the Citizen Accelerator. It's actually, I think it's one of its strengths. Like, we designed it to be backend agnostic. So out of the box in the first couple of releases, it did not have integration to SAP backend systems. And some of our customers were kind of, well, this is crazy. So we are adding that, but we knew that when you look at governments, they don't have one back-end system. They've got 10, 20 back-end systems. They've got one for permits, one for tax, one for benefits, one for whatever. So we designed it so that it could quickly and easily connect to multiple back-end systems, as opposed to saying you need to put an SAP for your back-end as well. So that's how we kind of tackle that.
All right.
But let's discuss this in more detail at the end when we see the rest of the suite.
Perfect. Thank you.
Another use case, and again another kind of small, mid-sized city. Now this one is in a part of the United Arab Emirates. So there's typically a little bit of money out in that area. So they again went small population, 345, 350,000 people, only 2,500 employees, but they put in a 24/7, smart government system using SAP software. So they are using like a lot of SAP. So all of their services, I think, are going online. They've got ERP in the back end. They've got CRM in there. You can see over here on the left-hand side, like, they've got HCM, NetWeaver, their business objects. So they've got a lot of SAP in the system. But really what they wanted to do is go paperless. And the same thing, they wanted to be very, very efficient. In the past, they had very poor hours. You had to be there between like 9 and I think the office closed at 3, so people had to take time off work, and it was taking days and weeks to do these processes. So they wanted to become a world-class e-government, so they put in SAP for this. Now they started with the NetWeaver portal, because this project started in probably 2016, 2017, before we had the Hybrid Citizen Engagement Accelerator. But just late last year, they purchased the Citizen Engagement Accelerator because they need that flexibility, one-stop shop. So they're deploying the Citizen Engagement Accelerator based on that commerce front end right now to improve the experience for the citizens. Again, they want to go with automated processes, automate everything. So reduce the manual stuff, automate as much as possible. So reduce and eliminate paper-based forms, manual processes, make everything digital. They had a lot of like manual processes when the paper would come in. They'd have to copy it onto another paper, manually enter into a system. Now they're like doing everything automated. And they've also deployed this to their court system as well. So when they're doing civil cases in the courts, they're using the case management for that as well. So seeing a lot of improvements, and they're a very happy customer for that. Then another one is Auckland. Auckland's been around for a couple of years now. So this is kind of obviously a much bigger customer. So Auckland it's the largest city in New Zealand. It's over 1 million people, say 1.4 million. So it's a big customer. This was an interesting story because, like a lot of cities, and London is the same. People think London is one city, but if you really look at London, there's lots of different boroughs and councils. So, to make up the London city, there's really multiple levels of government, multiple councils that make up London, and it was the same in Auckland. There was, I think, 7 or 8 different councils in the city itself. So the central government and the citizens of Auckland, look, this is crazy. If I want to do anything, it's hard to kind of do a strategy for Auckland when you have to deal with 8 councils. So if you want to put in a new road or a subway or a train, that train is going to pass through 3 or 4 or 5 different councils. Now you have to get permits from like 5 or 6 different departments, and it was just an administrative nightmare. So what they did is they merged all the councils into one single council. So they created Auckland Council. And this only happened like probably 5 or 10 years ago. So now you've got 8. It's like a mergers and acquisitions in the commercial world. You've got 8 companies, each with their own ERP, their own permits, their own tax software, all merging into one. So they went out to RFP and they looked at all the systems that each of the councils had and said, right, which back end system are we going to use? Which permit system are we going to use? And they ended up standardizing a lot, most of their processes on SAP. But then once they went live with their kind of their financials and their HR, their core support processes, then they tackled their citizen engagement piece, and they wanted a single platform for their, I think they've got 220 services that they do online, that they provide to the citizens. So they wanted a single platform for all of those 220 services. And their vision here is that they want to have 70% of those processes transacted online by 2020. They were, I think, very smart about it, that they didn't go out and say, right, we're going to do all 200 in a big bang approach. They definitely went through a crawl, walk, run process, and they started with kind of 5 core processes. And once they got those up and running, they kind of did analysis and lessons learned and how could we improve it. And now they've started rolling out additional services, which I think was really smart, because I've seen other customers do something similar, or where they'll go out and they'll do something. It's like, oh, I wish we did it this way instead, or I wish we did this. So instead of having like 50 or 100 services, each with some inefficiencies, they did a trial run with 5, fixed the processes, got the process down, and now they're at over like 50 or 60 services that are live and online. So, and then they're just going to continue to roll out more. The first processes that they picked on was related to building permits, property permits, and licenses and consents. So really to do with the property and the land. So if you want to apply for a permit, do I need a permit for this? Can I have consent to do this? So it's the permit, license, and consent process. And then that's using obviously the ERP in the back end, including the real estate, which is managing the land. They're using the CRM for managing all the cases and the service requests. And then they're using the Commerce Cloud, the commerce solution, for the online self-service portal. One of the big issues they had in the past is that they didn't have that 360-degree view of the citizen. So, from having the tax process, they knew all about the property. So they could look up a property and they could tell you everything about that property, including who owned it, but they didn't have the reverse view. So if they pulled up a person, they couldn't see, okay, what are all the properties he owns? So what properties does he own? What cars does he own? So now they've got a comprehensive like CRM product in there where they've got a full like 360-degree view of their citizens. So now they can look at the citizens and really get a much bigger picture and truly understand who they are. And as well, they've vastly improved their permit and processing time for the permits. Their goal is that they want all permits to be issued within 20 days. And that's actually pretty impressive. I've seen other large cities. I don't have it in this slide actually, but in another presentation, it was comparing the ease of doing business in the U.S. states. And for San Francisco, I think the average time is it's over 100 days to get a permit approved. Whereas Dallas, I think, was at the 20-day range. And so the range between 20 days and 100 days to get all your permits approved in the U.S. The cost in Dallas was $15,000, whereas in San Francisco it's $100,000 to get permits for some of these larger buildings. So it really shows you the importance of governments being efficient. Governments really are in competition with each other, whether they know that or accept that. When SAP is looking to open a new office somewhere, when companies are looking to open new factories, these are things that are important to them. Will I open it in San Francisco where it's going to take me, 150 days and $100,000 to get a permit? And you think how many permits you might need for large billions of projects, or will I open it in Dallas, Texas, where there's no sales tax? It's going to take me $15,000 in 20 days. They're important decisions in where you open your new business, where you grow, where you expand. So governments are having that now, and Auckland wanted to be more competitive, which is why they tackled this project, and they did a lot of work on the efficiency so that they can meet that 20-day limit. And as a result, I think they're one of their missions and goals is to be either the happiest city. I think they want to be the happiest city in the world, or one of the best, most livable cities in the world, and they're somewhere in the 2 to 5 range. So they've been as high as 2, and they've been as low as 5 in the past 3 or 4 years. So they're 1 year they're 2, the next year they're 4, then they're up to 3, down to 5. So they're really a very efficient, very happy, great place to live, and that's really what the city is driving for, and why they're always making improvements in these processes. So any questions on Auckland?
No, Paul.
Okay.
Thank you.
So there were just a couple of customers that I highlighted. So what I want to go into next and just kind of is do like a state of the union with, what we have to sell. So, this isn't really a slide that I would ever present to a customer, but it's good for us to know, because a lot has happened with all the acquisitions that we've had recently. So essentially, we've got kind of 2 different sales bags. So obviously, the C4 HANA Suite is the go-to. I mean, that's where pretty much everything is that we're selling. So this is down the bottom here. So, this is our it's a mix of like native and acquired products. So, obviously we've got the Service Cloud, the Sales Cloud, Customer Data Cloud. You can see these over here. So Service Cloud, that's a combination of, homegrown SAP Service Cloud. We acquired then core systems for field service piece, so you got core systems in there. We've got the Sales Cloud, which is a combination of kind of homegrown, but more recently the Calidus acquisition is kind of taking over the Sales Cloud piece. Commerce Cloud, which came from the Hybris Commerce acquisition, and then the Marketing Cloud, which is a homegrown native product. And we'll go into this in more detail. And then we've got the Customer Data Cloud, which is Gigia. So this is essentially, what we're selling. The company, we want to be the cloud company, so this is pretty much everything that we're selling. So when we think CX, 90% of it is, and this is from an SAP perspective, it's cloud C4. In public sector, it does get a little bit different depending on the country that you deal with. Some countries don't like cloud as much. So what we also have is we have what's called S4 customer management. So the old CRM on-premise, which is essentially going away, some of the CRM on-premise is now gone into S4. So if you have an S4 suite, we've actually put the CRM service and the CRM interaction center. So there is a full kind of service management process, and there is a call center and interaction center in S4 as well. The public sector solutions, so again, the sales, commerce, and marketing are not part of S4 customer management. So S4 is just the call center and the service piece, the case management piece. And the SAP public sector solutions for tax and revenue management and social monetary benefits are also part of S4 customer management. So it is possible to have, an S4 deployment with tax, with social, with service case management, and a call center all on premise. But if you're going for the cloud, the C4 stuff is all software as a service in the cloud. Okay.
Quick question, Paul. In the on-prem, what would be the front end? Because previously we could license what it was called at the time Hybris on-prem, but I think it's no longer possible.
So Hybris. So as a company, we're really pushing the the cloud stuff. So I think the on-prem is still available from an exception perspective, but my understanding is like salespeople aren't getting commissioned on it, so you have to have a very good exception why you can't go into the cloud. But the commerce piece is not available in here. So the interaction center and the service that would have the Fiori type skin that you see with S4. And I do have a slide coming up. We are obviously unifying and harmonizing the user interface. So we're going to that like Fiori 3.0 UI, so that across all our solutions it looks consistent and it's got a consistent UI. So Fiori 3.0 is coming out in, I think it's 1908 this year. So not this coming release next month, but the one after that. So that's when we'll have the harmonized UI. But still, I mean, it's got the, it does look Fiori-like when you look at the S4.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, so C4 is really where it's at, but there are some cases where S4 is still very relevant in the public sector. Again, this is kind of my own maybe opinion, but this is, you know, what's the fit for everything. Again, this is something I typically wouldn't share with a customer, but what we're talking about is the industry fit. Maybe fit's the wrong word, but you know, specificality would be another one, you know, and then the competitiveness, like how good of a solution do we have. So obviously, starting up here in the top left, you know, Qualtrics is that most recent acquisition we made, the $8 billion one. It's really high in an industry fit. They started in higher education, and they have a lot of public sector customers. So I know in the US, the US field, we're very, very happy. I think this was the first acquisition SAP ever made that actually has what's called like FedRAMP certification, and FedRAMP is a public sector certification for data security in the US. So the US government really don't like stuff in the cloud unless it has like FedRAMP certification. So Qualtrics had this FedRAMP certification. So it's in a secure cloud, it meets all the government data security requirements, it's got a lot of public sector customers, so that's why it scores up here high in the industry fit, and it's also high in competitiveness. It's an industry leader, it's the best solution out there. So really get to know the local Qualtrics reps in your region. We just had a couple of meetings with a state here in the US, state of Michigan, the past couple of weeks, couple of months, and we bought in Qualtrics a week or two ago and introduced them to the account, and you know, the account team or the customer just loves the solution that they have, and it's really going to help with the online experience. So I've got some slides in here coming up on Qualtrics. There is a whole process in Planet Public. I've got a blog up there on it. You know, there's a deal desk where you register your opportunity, and they'll assign a Qualtrics person to work with you. So they've got a really nice process down, so you don't feel like you have to learn Qualtrics, become a Qualtrics expert and demo. There's a really good, strong team there already. So once you kind of register your opportunity, they'll hook you up with the Qualtrics team, and then you can work together on this. These guys can build demos really fast, really easy. It shows very well, sells very well, and it scales. What I really like about Qualtrics too is it kind of reminds me of maybe Salesforce back in the day. You know, Salesforce grew. I mean, they would have, you know, a free 30-day trial, and then you could sign up for, you know, $50 a month or something. I mean, the cost of Salesforce right now, it's typically higher than SAP CX Cloud. I mean, it's, if you get Salesforce, you know, you're paying like $300 per user per month for kind of the full suite. But what they essentially did is they gave away a lot of these free 30-day trials and these very limited scope products where people would go in and get 10 users, 20 users at like $50 a month. Next thing you know, there's, you know, half your company is using it, and it just makes sense to grow and get an enterprise license. So Qualtrics is the same. They can go in and very quickly and cheaply, they can go in and get, you know, very small deals and then land and expand. You know, so you sign up for 3 users for very little money a month, and then once you get into the account and people see how good it is, it just grows and grows and grows, and it scales. I mean, again, I don't know about your region, but in the US and in Europe, they've got some customers where it's literally as small as a couple of $1,000s a month up to like $1 million a year for these Qualtrics opportunities. So it's really nice. You get a quick win, sells well, grows well. Commerce is the next one. So this also includes the Citizen Engagement Accelerator. So the new version of this is, you'll see, if you ever see CCV2, that's called Commerce Cloud version 2. So again, cloud deployment, it's in the Azure cloud as well. So if you have an Azure data center in your region, it can get deployed into the Azure cloud, and we are expanding to other hyperscalers as well. Again, I have it in the high for the industry fit because we've added a lot of public sector specific functionality to Commerce Cloud. Again, when you think of commerce, if you take off your SAP hat, I'm thinking, okay, I think Amazon, I think Target, I think supermarkets, retailers like Nike, where I go online and I browse for products and add them to my cart and check out. And I mean, that's what commerce is. But as a company, we looked at who were the leading self-service experience companies and products, and the leaders in experience were retailers, e-commerce companies. So we said, right, we want to deliver a fantastic world-class experience to our citizens. What tool would we use? Let's use the tool that the best experience companies are using. So we took that commerce platform, which is the leading commerce platform, and we added a lot of public sector specific functionality to it. So now that's why I have it up here is in high in the industry fit, because it has a lot of that public sector stuff in there. And then it's very competitive as well. It's a great, it's a very competitive solution. Typically, this is competing against, maybe portals or smaller stuff like that. But once you kind of really look at the value and the benefit, it's great. The other one we have then up here in high is marketing, the Marketing Cloud. Again, this is, it's using HANA database on the cloud platform. It's kind of high still in the industry fit, even though there's no public sector stuff has been done to marketing, but it's one of those that you don't really need to do it anyway. Kind of the segmentation, the targeting, the multi-level campaigns, the integration of social media, the listening, all the capabilities that are in marketing, it's really generic across all industries. So we're not really missing a lot of stuff, which is why I have it in the high for industry fit as well. So there's no missing functionality which would prohibit you from selling marketing. Most governments don't really call it marketing, but they all want to do segmentation, targeting, outreach is a term that they use a lot. So really, it's something we should be selling a lot more of. I spoke to the city of San Antonio 2 days ago, and now they're starting to look at customer experience, and we just kind of sat back and listened and said, okay, what are you looking to do? And they said, right, we've got a vision. They've got 20 departments in the city. They've got, and each one has got their own CRM system. So this is going to lead me into Gigia, Customer Data Cloud, which is next. The first thing we want is we want a single view of our citizen across all those 20 departments, 20 agencies, and 20 systems. So, and to me, this is very common in public sector. I said each department, agency has got their own CRM system. Maybe it's homegrown, it's a database, it's whatever. And it's very hard for a city to go out and rip out those 20 systems and put in a new system, but they still want that single view of the citizen, and they want that single master data, that golden record. And that's what the Customer Data Cloud offers. So that's really where Gigia comes in. Actually, this should be up here in the industry fit. This should be in the high as well. City of New York has just deployed this. I think they just went live like a week or two ago. But again, the City of New York has the same issue. It's like, right, we've got citizens applying for benefits, and they're applying for benefits and working with different departments and agencies, and each one has got their own registration process. So now me, Paul O'Sullivan, even though I don't live in New York, if I lived in New York, I'd have to create my user for Department A and fill out a file and apply for benefits. And now I'd have to create a user in Department B and apply for benefits, and create a new user in Department C, and the different departments can't see me. They don't have that single view of me. So they've put in Gigia, And this is the very first thing that San Antonio want to do, to have that, master data management, single view of the citizen. And then, as a citizen, when I go into Gigia, I can now go in and I can see all my preferences. So in Europe, you have GDPR, which is the General Data Protection Requirements, where they've got their right to be forgotten. They've got the terms and conditions, the consent. What can you use my data for? What are you doing with my data? I have to give you permission to use my data. Gigia manages all that processes. So it gives me things like federated logon, so I can log on with my Facebook ID, my Google, my whatever, and I can enrich my profile. And if I change my name and address, it's going to change it in all the back-end systems. I don't have to go into like 5 different places and update my cell phone number when I get a new cell phone number. And I've got common data sharing, so as the terms and conditions change, it tracks all that process. So it's a really fantastic product. The reason I kind of put it down lower in the industry fit is that historically they haven't targeted public sector. This New York City is kind of the first one that I really know that's gone live from a public sector. So we're looking, once they go live in a couple of months, and I think 6 months is what we typically wait before we do a BTS or a reference story. But I know in Australia as well, like they're literally every opportunity with a government customer, they're leading with, and they're including Gigia, because all governments have that problem. They have the multiple backends, and they want that single view of the citizen, and they want that view that Gigia provides.
Paul?
Yeah.
Quick question here about the project you mentioned in New York. One of the objectives is to have one single system to control the benefits of all departments. That also, the objective was actually to control the fraud that could cause different systems controlling benefits to citizens?
No, I mean, what they're doing is they just want to have a single view of the citizen. So they're not replacing their back-end benefit systems, but they're putting in a single system to manage the users. So their back-end benefit systems are staying the same, but now I've got one place to go, and when I register myself and when I maintain my data, they have that single view of the citizen across all departments and agencies. So they don't have 3 citizen records, they've got one. They don't have like 3 or 5 or 10 citizen records, one for each department and agency or program. They've got one citizen record, and that data is shared across all the departments and programs and agencies.
Okay, great.
Now what San Antonio want to do is, so they want to have that single view first, and then the next thing they want to do is they want to go back to marketing and say, right, now that I know who my customers are and I've got that single view of them, now I can do better targeting and outreach to those citizens. So now they can go out and target. So if there's a change in legislation, okay, who's got 2 children and making this much money, let me send them out a message and do campaigns and notifications. Which businesses are doing this or this type, so they can do marketing outreach with them. And again, the benefit of the kind of cloud suite with the integration, that's also leading back into commerce. So for that commerce for citizen front end, anyone that's gone to the retailers, I mean, they do a fantastic job at personalization. So when I open up Amazon, it knows what I've bought in the past. It knows what I'm browsing for right now, and it makes recommendations. So the banner ads are something that's relevant to me. So it's the same for government. So and that's using the market. So when I log on as a citizen, if I have that single view of the citizen through Gigia, and I've got like some campaigns running and some targeting, some target groups, and some personalization, now when I log on to the accelerator as a citizen, it's like, oh, okay, I'm here to pay my bill, either parking permit, I'm here to apply for a building permit, oh, it knows my dog license, or it knows I've got a dog. Why don't I tell you about the new dog park? It knows that my car needs to be registered. Why don't I pop that up and kind of upsell you your registration? So now I can do everything at one time, instead of just either seeing nothing or seeing non-personalized ads. It'd be nothing worse as a citizen logging on and seeing something totally unrelated to me. We can personalize the whole experience and really offer that one-stop shop. So next we have sales. That's another one of the clouds. Again, industry fit. This is nothing against our product. Like, typically governments don't really use sales a lot. They use service more. So there's no real industry requirement for industry functionality. So that's why it's kind of down low in the industry fit. But you can see it's high in the competitive level. So it's great solution, but governments don't typically buy a lot of sales. We do still sell some. Governments, they've got business development. They do create like opportunities. So it is competitive, but you'll find that governments are typically, buying Gigia marketing and commerce more than sales. And then the last one we have is the Service Cloud. And this kind of ties back to this one. From a service perspective, you can see this is where we have a kind of a split product. And this is one of the things that it's why we have the industry fit down low. So in the true Service Cloud, it's low. If I did put the S4 customer management, the S4 customer management would be up high. So in S4 customer management, we have tax processing. We have benefit management, social benefits. So your social benefits, social monetary benefits. It's got the tight integration to S4, so it can do the permits and licenses with the integration to the land tax. So the S4 customer management would be up here in high competitive, high industry fit. The native Service Cloud doesn't really have a lot of public sector stuff in it. So that's why it's slightly lower in the industry fit. Now, Christchurch, which we just started that video off, I mean, they're using it, it's great, but they're using it for things like the potholes, the whatever, which are fantastic. So definitely this is still a great solution for certain use cases. Again, if they want, hey, we want tax, Service Cloud isn't the one. You want S4. If they want social benefits, it's not Service Cloud. But for your traditional typical services, potholes, noise, trash, whatever, Service Cloud is great. What we're doing right now is, again, this has call center functionality in here. So the Unified Service Desk is something that's coming out in actually this release 1905. We've just acquired, last year at Sapphire, we announced Core Systems, which is our kind of our field service piece. And then Calidus has got kind of Click Tools, Service Motivate. So there's a lot of stuff that's being kind of integrated right now. So I think once they're integrated, the competitiveness will go from kind of medium up to high, because you'll have them all like tightly integrated. So that will happen probably in the next release when we get to like 1905 and 1908. But you shouldn't be shying away from this. As I say, we sold it to Christchurch, and they're very happy with it. It's a great product for those guys. So, any questions on this? Do we understand what everything is, and where we're really good? And I mean, we are really good everywhere. If you look at the analyst slides, I mean, all of the products are very strong. We've nothing to really be afraid of. And with the combination, I should add the S4 customer management up here just to give you the full comprehensive CX suite, and then we really can cover all the bases in public sector. I'm going to maybe ask you guys a couple of questions. So from a cloud perspective, obviously there's lots of different countries in Latin America. Which countries are open to cloud, which countries aren't open to cloud, and how does cloud resonate in public sector in Latin America?
I would say it varies from country to country. There are some countries that are evolutioning more fast or faster than others.
Yeah.
For example, in Central America, in Costa Rica, we have some public customers that have solutions in cloud.
Okay.
Panama, we don't have, and the rest of the country in Central America, I think we don't have any customers in cloud. But in Honduras, we have a customer that just acquired our solutions in HANA and Enterprise Cloud. So it's getting more popular, each every year.
Yeah.
To elaborate on that, maybe English-speaking Caribbean is all for the cloud, okay?
Okay.
And government companies like utilities, social service agencies that are not central government are more flexible towards cloud, whether central government are pretty reluctant, especially when there's a bit of a different political view, like Ecuador and stuff. So it would be more about completely leading on the English-speaking Caribbean, then coming into government companies like utilities, social service agencies, transportation companies, and then way behind is central governments.
Okay. It's true. And probably central government, we don't have any case, right? Derek?
No, not on cloud.
Yeah. I mean,
it's a work in progress, Paul.
Yeah.
It's a work in progress. Regulations are being also worked, so it's not being established yet.
Yeah.
At least in Colombia, the new government is thinking differently. It's more thinking on the IT side, very young people leading the government right now.
Yeah.
So it's a work in progress.
It's interesting. Okay, good to know. And it sounds like it's kind of where you guys seem to be now, where maybe Australia and the US were 2 or 3 years ago, where the central government were like, no way, But the way I would explain it, it's kind of like a dam breaking. You look at these big dams and they're huge, and there's probably billions of gallons of water, and you think they'll never fail, they'll never go to cloud, and then a small crack will appear, and it's still going to take years and years and years, and then all of a sudden it just collapses. And that's the way it was in the US. It was like the central government will never do it, and then they started like dipping their toe and you'd see a little crack, and all of a sudden that dam just broke open. And like the Department of Defense, so the US military, I think last year 90% of the revenue that SAP had with them was in the cloud. And I was at FCOM this year, and the VP of sales who made his number, he was on stage and he said, look, if you told me 2 years ago that the largest cloud deal in SAP as a company last year was public sector in US, I forget how much it was, but it was 30-40 million a year in ACV. It was like a huge cloud deal. And he said, like, if you told me 2 or 3 years ago that the Army or the military or Department of Defense would buy some of the cloud, I would have told you were crazy. And it's the same in Australia. They're just going to this cloud, and it just happened, I won't say overnight, but in a very, very short period of time. I mean, it was amazing. And now we're seeing that in other countries as well, that there was a big reluctance. And again, I do agree with you, it will depend on data center location.
Yeah.
I mean, it's the guys in Europe. They're not going to do anything if the data's in the US. They want a data center in Europe, and it's the same thing. The guys in Australia want a data center in Australia. So that does take something into account as well.
Yeah, I was going to mention exactly that. We have a handicap here because so in Latin America are very few data centers.
Yeah.
So they're mostly in US and in Europe. So that is also a handicap. So the first step, going to the cloud, and then taking their data outside of the country. So that's tough.
Yeah. Yeah. Now, I mean, the hyperscalers, Google, Amazon, Azure, are they in country, or they're not really there either yet?
They're not.
they're not there either. Okay, so it's not just the lack of SAP ones. Okay. All right.
Well, and actually, we are in Colombia in some companies in current projects with the public sector that they are looking for Amazon as a competitor in some part of some solutions. So they are open to cloud now.
Okay.
More open.
Okay.
No?
Good. Okay. Good to know. Okay. Okay. So moving on a wee bit. I won't go into the intelligent enterprise, but obviously, this is the big theme at SAP, and it's hitting the C4 as well. So I mean, this slide's kind of black. I do like this slide a lot. I think this shows well to kind of customers how moving to the intelligent enterprise, it's reducing the number of repetitive tasks. It's increasing the level of automation, which is increasing this high-value tasks that the people can do. Then I typically talk about the benefits of moving to like digital government. This is, I'm not sure how old this is, but again, the cost of doing something online instead of like from the UK, I think it was like 10 pounds sterling, which is probably whatever. $13, $15, a phone call might be $5, and doing the same thing online is, a quarter, like 25 cents type of thing. So it's much more efficient. Yeah, this is from 2013. Here you go. Much more efficient to do your services online. So that's, and to me, like, this is the ultimate win-win. I mean, it's, citizens want online self-service. They don't want to have to take a day off and go to an office and fill in a form and wait in line. They want to do it online. So it's better for the citizen and it's cheaper for the government. So it's the perfect win-win. So then that takes us into C4. I'm not going to, there's a couple of different versions of these slides. So I'm going to show you all of them and you can pick whichever one you want. So this is kind of the original C4HANA slide, where it talks about the 5 clouds, marketing, commerce, gig customer data cloud, sales cloud, and service cloud. And then we have the 7 attributes. So we want that harmonized UI. We want end-to-end processes, common master data, business and master data, integrated intelligence and analytics, the platform services, which is built on the cloud platform, extensibility and integration, so being able to extend the solution, enhance it, and then integrate to non-SAP system. And we want an open ecosystem. We want partners adding on to this with kind of add-on solutions. With the recent acquisition of Qualtrics, now this one is just kind of coming out. It's how we want to enhance C4 with experience management with Qualtrics. So we want to get the X data and the O data, and I've got some slides on Qualtrics coming up, so I won't explain what the X and O are. But the big thing for Qualtrics is it's kind of a 3-step process. You want to listen to your customers, you want to understand what's going on, and then you want to act upon it to kind of continually improve the experience and the process. So I think this messaging here, this slide, this is going to start getting rolled out in the Sapphire timeframe, which is not next week, the week after, so it's coming pretty fast. Will any of you guys be coming to Sapphire? Any of your customers coming up?
We are going to Sapphire and to CX Live, but public sector customers, Felipe, was in one public sector customer going from Colombia to Sapphire?
Probably, but it's actually a utilities company, not
okay.
Public sector itself. So.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
Okay.
All right. Good. Well, I will be there, so please look for me. I'll be at the public sector booth for most of the time.
Will be great. Yeah. Thank you so much.
Great to put a face to the name. And then that same version that we saw with the XO stuff on here. So again, right now when you do look at all the solutions, I mean, it's definitely a work in progress. There still is, the Fiori UI hasn't hit all of the solutions yet. So, this is definitely a work in progress. But our goal is to have, that common UI with the Fiori 3.0 coming out. a different view of it again. And this kind of just shows how we're using it's built on the cloud platform, integrating to S4HANA with the integration, and I added Qualtrics up here as well. What we try and position a lot with the accelerator for is a kind of a one-stop shop. And this is something that some governments like, and some people, it scares them off. They think it's kind of too big a bite or too big a project. But this I always position as the crawl, walk, run type of thing. So as I mentioned with Auckland, they didn't try and do all 220 services at once. They started with 5 and they're rolling them out incrementally over time. But essentially, you want to simplify the citizen, and you want to simplify the journey for your citizens. You want that one-stop shop. You don't want to make citizens go to like 10 different websites and register 10 times, and I've got to do this thing over here in this website, and then I've got to go to a different department, a different website, and do something else. So if I want to open a new business, that can be a nightmare of a journey to orchestrate. There's no one place to go. Again, I have to go to multiple people and do stuff. So what we want is these 2 lines here, these 2 bars. These are pretty much all the functions that you can do with the government. You search for information, you're going to apply for something, file something, register something, look for knowledge, for content, pay something, look for news, complain, put a request in, look for events in the city, and then you're going to do them across all those channels, the web, mobile, still paper, face-to-face, self-service, IoT stuff, chatbots, social media. So we want, for all the customers of government, to connect to all the back-end systems. So you don't need to rip out and put in SAP for tax, for social, for grant, for CRM, for ERP. But from a citizen perspective, the Citizen Engagement Accelerator can be that one-stop shop so that you can engage, so governments can engage with their citizens, and citizens can have that one comprehensive platform where they can interact with the government across all departments, agencies, and processes. So it's a fantastic vision, and it's definitely where the industry and where governments are going. What's challenging is typically the government procurement process, that they don't very often buy whole of government solutions. It's like, I'm Department A, I need something for just building permits. So they'll buy a small portal and a small CRM piece just for building permits. And then 6 months later, the tax department will buy just their little siloed stack. And then a benefit people will put in their siloed stack, because that's how they have to buy from a procurement perspective. But that's just propagating the nightmare for citizens. So what we're trying to do is kind of educate governments to say, right, when I understand you only want a tax system now, or a benefit or a permit, but at least put in a technology and a platform that you can grow with. And that's what we want to try and position here, so that you put in a couple of services and then you can grow, and this can connect to the back-end systems, your tax system, your CRM system, your permit system, whatever. So don't put in 10 different portals, 10 different UIs, 10 different systems. Put in a single platform that can meet all of your needs. So again, begin with the end in mind. And in the long run, that will have a much lower total cost of ownership for customers. So maybe the first project is a little bit more expensive because, well, I can buy a small niche vendor here that can do it really cheaply. But, when you're trying to support 10 or 20 small niche vendors versus having one platform that can do everything, the cost goes down drastically. So it's kind of worth investing and putting in that good platform up front. So as you roll out additional services, departments, and agencies, the cost per project comes down drastically instead of staying the same. So that's what we're trying to do. So if you can get ahead of the RFI, RFP, and kind of get governments to think this way, That way, when the RFI or RFP is written, it's not, hey, I must have it just for this one department and agency, and that makes it harder to sell the platform approach. If you kind of get ahead of that and work with the government, whether it's a mayor or a governor or the central government, to kind of put in that platform, and the value engineering team are fantastic. They can show kind of the business case and build a business case to show that in the long term it's cheaper, lower total cost of ownership when you do this platform. We can talk about the experience going up and the benefit that has. So it's definitely a nice story to tell, but we have to get in early to tell that story. So that we have a slide in here then of kind of the Fiori. So this is a new look at the Fiori 3.0 that's coming out. And it's, I think it's 1908 is the first release. But what they're trying to do is, again, have the common Fiori look and feel, consistency, navigation, menus. Because I think some of the problems right now is, maybe if you're in SuccessFactors, you're going to see buttons up the top left, and maybe in Concur they're on the bottom left, and somewhere else they're in the bottom right, and they look different icons, different themes. It's not consistent. And when you go in and do these big demos, it really does stand out. We had a couple of losses in the US 2 years ago where, one of the big things that the customer said is like, when SAP came in, it looked like multiple different companies because each UI was different. So now they're really working on harmonizing the UI. So if you're seeing SuccessFactors, Ariba, Concur, C4, Service Cloud, it's all going to look the same. And really, when I look at the development work that we're doing as a company at the roadmap, most of our development resources right now are spent on the UI, harmonizing that experience and integrating the solutions so that it's kind of back to SAP's heritage. We were always this best in class, tightly integrated solution, and that's what we're looking to do again. I think we still are very well integrated, but we're even looking to do better integration with that harmonized UI. So then is the intelligent enterprise. A lot of the intelligent enterprise, it's machine learning, artificial intelligence, and that's also true for CX. So we've got some slides in here talking about some of these. And this is, again, where we're trying to differentiate ourselves. Obviously, IBM has got their Watson, I think, is the IBM one, and Salesforce have, I think it's Einstein, and we've got Leonardo. So somebody made a joke that's all dead white people, which is kind of true. I don't know why they have picked those names. I don't know who Watson is. Watson, Leonardo, and Einstein. But obviously, the embedded artificial intelligence, machine learning, and that goes back to, whoops, where are we here? I have to notice how many slides back. The one with the curves. We really want to have, like, the intelligent technologies is really automating a lot of these repetitive processes. We're reducing these repetitive processes. We're increasing automation. So now we can do so much more with our time as government workers. I'm pretty sure it's true the world over. Governments don't have enough people to do all the tasks. You're waiting online. There's a lot of repetitive processes. Governments are overworked, understaffed. So if you can automate a lot of these processes, that way you free up time for the people that they can work on the really important things that need to be done. This is very important for government, obviously. Every country has got their horror stories with, there was a case in Philadelphia a couple of years ago, like a building collapsed and fell on top of a shop next door and killed a couple of people. And it's because, the licensing for the demolition team, they didn't get out to inspect the building because they were overworked. And it's a lot of what they're doing is like just boring, repetitive stuff. So now things like RPA, remote process automation, artificial intelligence, machine learning is going to take that like mundane, routine stuff off their plate by automating it. So now they can go out and do the important things like the inspections and like what's really value add. You know, you see the Boeing stuff in the US where the two planes crashed. You know, the FAA didn't have time, didn't have the people and the resources to really stay on top of Boeing and the processes. You always hear stories of, you know, children being abused in foster care because the caseworker couldn't go out and visit the family like they were supposed to do because their caseload was too high. So, I mean, it's not just, hey, you know, we're trying to save costs here. We're really trying to improve people's lives by automating some of these processes so that, you know, with the limited resources that government have, they can work on the value things, the things that are really important, you know, getting out to visit the kids in foster care, you know, doing their inspections to make sure that buildings aren't collapsing, collecting revenue, you know, doing the important things that are important for society. And we have these throughout the C4 suite. Let me just kill this here. Okay, so, you know, in marketing, we have all these examples of AI ML in Service Cloud. We have in Sales Cloud, Commerce Cloud, and Service Cloud. We have these examples. So we're going to go into some of these in a little bit more detail, but these are all available right now. If it doesn't have the planned, if you see the planned in here, it's probably coming out in either 1905 or maybe 1908. But you know, we're practically at 1905 already. So you can see that there's a lot of artificial intelligence in there already. So we'll just talk about a couple of these. And the one that we typically start with, I talk about, and I think it's a great solution, is ticket intelligence. So what ticket intelligence is great for, it helps governments like categorize and assign categories and solutions to tickets based on historical ticket data. So you think about a government call center or contact center where there's lots of phone calls coming in, lots of tickets being created online or coming in through emails. You know, the people answering the phone and their case workers and case agents, they spend a lot of their time like looking at the ticket, reading the ticket, deciding what to do with it, and classifying the ticket, and then routing it along to the appropriate department or agency or doing something with it. So that's very time consuming to be reading through, you know, all those, you know, tickets, messages, calls. You know, you talk about large cities like, you know, New York, where they're getting like thousands of these a day. That's not a very efficient process. So what ticket intelligence does is it automatically reads and scans this ticket. Then based on the modeling or the learning that's happened over historical data, it does that assignment and categorization and routing for you automatically. So now your caseworker, your contact center agent, they don't have to do that. So all that processing, routing, prioritization, is it high, low, medium priority, that happens automatically, which is increasing the productivity. So now the call center person, they can spend their time, instead of doing this routine, boring task, they can actually solve the issues that are important. They don't have to be routing tickets around. So they can, you know, better prioritize the tickets. And this is then self-learning. So if the system sends a ticket to whatever department or agency, and if it's the wrong one, you know, once we reassign it, once a human looks at it and reassigns it to the proper agency, you know, that model is relearning, so it's always going to be improving the accuracy of the assignment. Now the benefit for the citizen as well is that now the response is going to be much faster. You know, they don't have to wait for somebody to manually look at all these tickets. You know, the system is going to review it, assign it, and it can even reply automatically with, you know, some sample solutions to this. So, you know, you either need less resources in the contact center, or you can just, you know, manage a higher volume of tickets and increase your speed and your response rate.
Paul,
Yep.
quick question. can this work on something a little bit more complex than tickets? For instance, in Colombia, all government agencies have to take all kind of requests and complaints from citizens on documents, and some of them get fines if they don't act within a time period. And cataloging, as you said in here, it's a major issue. But it's coming on all kind of different formats, on letters and emails, people delivering on letters in person and all that. Can this be used on documents? It can, obviously, with the proper document management system, but not on a formatted ticket platform, but on just documents to see which agency, which government agency or which department has to answer for them?
Yeah, absolutely. So, it can do that text analysis and scan those documents, read the text in those documents, and use that for it as well. So, for sure. One of the other things too, you mentioned like that they get fined if they don't respond. When I spoke about Auckland early on in the process, they had that same constraint that if they didn't hit, I'm not sure they would actually get fined or if there were penalties, but they had to hit that 20-day SLA. So we enhanced the standard solution. That's also in the Service Cloud right now, that we enhance the SLA monitoring. So when the ticket comes in, and depending on the type of permit or the type of ticket, they've got different service level agreements. So if I'm like a residential, maybe it's like 5 days. If I'm, I want a blue badge or a whatever, renew my license, it's maybe a 3-day. Whereas if I'm like a large commercial building project, it's 20 days. So we enhance the SLA clock, so once the ticket comes in, it's created, the clock starts. So I've got 20 business days, it was not counted as, it was business days to reply and get the permit issued. Well, let's say after a day, the caseworker looks and says, okay, I need these 3 documents from the citizen. They send the ticket back to the citizen, and that stops the clock. Because, the government is like, hey, it's not our fault if I say after 1 day, okay, I need these 3 documents. Now, if the customer doesn't come back for 10 days, it's not fair for me to have 9 days left to get the permit out the door. So we enhance the SLA clock so it kind of stops and starts. Every time I send this ticket back to the citizen, they can take as much time as they want. It won't impact my 20-day SLA. So they're not getting penalized for delays by the citizen or by the customer. So that way they're able to track and say, yes, we did our work within our 20 days. The reason it took 30 days overall is because it took you 15 days to get me the documents, which you should have had up front, if that makes sense.
It sounds beautiful. Just to have the right information, when you say we enhanced it, did you do it per project on the customer implementation, or you did it on the solution?
It went back into the standard solution. So when we did it initially, we bought out one of the guys from Germany, from the CRM team, to look at it and work with us, and that work went back into the standard product.
So pretty much we can say, and we'll stop and start the clock as many times as you have to bounce it back with the client, with the citizen.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Perfect. Thank you.
Yeah. So
just one question that we have here in chat. In the case of Auckland, the implementation of high-risk service was on-prem or cloud?
So Auckland is on-prem and Christchurch is in the cloud. Okay. But the SLA piece is in both.
Okay, and do it have customer engagement center?
Auckland is using the CRM interaction center. I'll have to check what Christchurch is using. So the customer engagement center, there's a new version of that coming out in 1905 called the Unified Service Desk. So that's what we're looking to, that's our kind of go-to moving forward for that.
Thank you.
So also moving off this, we have something called Similar Ticket Recommender. So once the ticket comes in and we do the classification piece, we don't want to reinvent the wheel. So what the AI ML system does is like, okay, how have we solved this problem in the past in other tickets? I'm not sure if you can see it here, but maybe on the right-hand side here, you can see similar tickets. So I don't have to like research and relearn everything. So if I've never seen this ticket before, but maybe one of my colleagues has, and they spent the hours and the days figuring out the solution, I can just learn what they did for that ticket. So the system will scan through all the historical tickets and say, hey, these are other tickets that are similar to this. Can you use the solution that we did on those tickets? So now that's going to speed up processing time and say, oh yeah, that's the same problem, same issue. What did Mary do? Okay, this is what she did. This is the best practice. It's documented well. I'm going to do the same thing here. So again, now we're really increasing productivity. I don't have to manually look for how we solved in the past. I don't have to like shout around the office, hey, has anyone ever seen something like this before? We're learning from best practices and from historical use cases, and then that's going to increase our confidence in the solution that we're doing. And again, it's going to reduce the time it takes to serve the customer and really improve the process for them. Okay. One thing we have as well is our digital citizen blockchain solution. And this is kind of a new solution. It's using blockchain to have a citizen wallet. So governments have many manual and paper-based processes, where you have to kind of show up in office and maybe physically show your driver's license or come in with a copy of your utility bill. I mean, literally 2 months ago, I had to renew my driver's license in the US, and I had to go to the office with, I actually had to bring my passport, and I had to bring 2 utility bills to kind of prove that I lived where I said I lived. And there's other processes where I would have to kind of go to an office and either bring my driver's license or, again, a utility bill or a passport. Why should I have to do that? Once I show the government once this data, I shouldn't have to do it every time. So what we're looking to do with this digital wallet is it's kind of got 3 users. It's got the citizen, and then it's got somebody that will validate my document, and then somebody that will process my request. So what I can do as a citizen, I can scan and upload my document, and I can send that document to get validated. So when I do my driver's license, maybe I take a picture of my passport and say, here's my passport, there's my picture, it's got my passport number. That will then get routed to whichever department, maybe the passport agency, and they'll review it and say, yes, that's true, that matches our records, and they will validate that document. Now that document is validated and it's stored in the blockchain. So anytime I need to provide that document again, I don't have to again go to an office or upload my document again. I can say, oh yeah, that document is in the blockchain. Here you go. I'm going to use that document for a new process. So it's in the blockchain, so it's like secure, it's authenticated. So over time, as all my documents get created and uploaded, now they're all stored in the blockchain, so it's going to get more efficient over time. And we designed it in such a way that besides just having the document up there, we can store the data in XML format as well. So if you look at your driver's license, it's got like your name, your address, and a lot of other pieces of information on there. Why don't I take those data and pre-fill forms? So when somebody is looking for my information, I can say, okay, go get that information from my driver's license, which is in the blockchain. And again, this is going to reduce fraud because government know that, yes, that data has been validated, it's accurate. I can look at the hashtag from the blockchain and I know that this data is real good data. So that's what we're looking to use this citizen wallet for. We've done a proof of concept. I don't know if I have the reference slide in here with a state in Italy, Bolzano, where they used it for a kind of billing process or billing permits. So again, they're putting their documents, they're scanning their documents, they're authenticating them, and they're storing those in the blockchain. So over time, you're seeing more and more governments looking at blockchain. And then the plan is that, everything would be stored in your wallet. So now you can, if you're stopped by a police officer, you don't have to take out the driver's anymore. Here on your phone, it's, here you go. Here's my driver's license. And that might be a QR code, and the police officer will then scan that QR code, and then that will validate that that is a valid driver's license, passport, document, permit, business license, whatever the document is. It will manage all those document processes. And it's all stored in the blockchain to reduce fraud, reduce the cost of service, and speed up the process as well. So you don't have to go to offices anymore and get documents validated and do this multiple times.
Well, was this done annually implemented by a partner, or was it done by SAP?
The initial proof of concept was done by SAP. Again, in Planet Public, if you look for Digital Citizen or Digital Citizen Wallet, there's a separate jam group for it as well, but I have a link to it in Planet Public. There's a standard demo we have. Now we're working with a partner, iTelligence, and iTelligence are looking to kind of productize this using the SAP technologies. So it's all built on SAP Cloud Platform or blockchain services and the Cloud Platform technology. So it can be done again with a partner or with SAP consulting as well.
So there would be a team within SAP if we tried to build this that could implement it.
Yeah.
Okay. Perfect. Thank you.
Okay. So sentiment analysis, that's been around for a while, so maybe I'll skip over this one. The other one then is like chatbots. So we've got obviously Copilot, and then we acquired that company, Recast.ai, now called Conversational.ai. So where we're integrating this into CX and C4 as well. We've got a couple of videos and demos, out there again on Planet Public. But again, what we're trying to do is, deflect calls to the call center. We're trying to reduce the call volume. We don't want someone to pick up the phone and call the call center or create a ticket. If the chatbot, conversation AI, can answer the problem for them automatically, this is has the potential to greatly reduce the number of calls and tickets into the call center. So again, this is being rolled out. Conversational AI is now, I think we acquired this company just last year, but it has been integrated into the cloud platform, and it has been integrated. We've got some CX examples. We've got some public sector ones for like a tax process and a social benefit process. But just think of some of the really like routine questions that, people call into the government for. Is the library open today? Where do I vote? What day is trash pickup? What do I have to do? When am I getting my tax refund? Really kind of routine stuff, but at the same time, if 100 people are calling to the call center, now you're waiting on hold for like 5 or 10 minutes for someone to like answer the phone and look up your record and get you that really basic information. When you can kind of have a chatbot to do those basic things, that really frees up the volume of calls in the call center, so now those people can work on the really important stuff. The nice thing about this as well is if it doesn't solve your problem, it can do a transfer to a real agent, and that real agent will see, okay, what question did you ask the chatbot? So when you talk to a real person, you're not starting from zero again. So that the person that's going to answer the phone or answer the ticket will see the initial question on the chatbot, the back and forth processing, so they don't have to ask you the same questions again and frustrate you as a citizen or a user. They're going to hopefully have the answer for you as soon as they pick up the phone and take over. Or even they can go from a chatbot chat to a real live chat and say, hi, this is a real person now, let me get you that information. So it's solving the issue for you. Okay, so we're going to talk a little bit about Qualtrics now, if that's okay. So have you guys seen anything about Qualtrics yet? Have you had a lot of experience? I know a lot of the all hands. I mean, has anyone met their Qualtrics reps or seen anything with Qualtrics?
Yeah, we are
Yes,
working very close with Qualtrics in Colombia. We have already closed 3 deals in customer experience, and
Oh, nice.
actually we have some prospects in public sector. So it's very interesting for North to see what we have, in public sector with Qualtrics.
Okay, great. So on Plan to Public, I have a group as well, or a page. So I'll go over I'll skip some of the basic stuff then, but this is one of the new decks that we're working on, and this is getting driven by the central team. So this is a kind of some slides from a CEO deck. So this would be a deck that you guys would deliver to a CEO. Again, kind of starting high level, explaining what experience management is, and then we kind of explain what the X data is, what the O data is, and then again it's listen, understand, act. So we'll explain to the CEO. You're going to see these getting rolled out around the Sapphire timeframe, and again, I think the first couple of slides are going to be the same for all industries. So, whether you're in a public sector deck, utilities, or automotive, the first couple of slides will be the same. So this one will be the same. And then we talk about fusing the X and O together. So, why we're doing this. So the O data tells you what's happening. The X data tells you why it's happening, and then when you loop them together, you kind of get the benefits of the solution. Again, this deck or this slide will be consistent. The only thing that we will really change is I think the first 2 paragraphs are the same, but then the third one is like, this is just the beginning. So in public sector, we've changed customers to constituent, and we changed some small things down here, but again, it's going to be very, very similar for all the industries. Then, obviously we just explain what the XM process is. We want to collect the data, analyze the data, act on the data. Actually, that's got to be updated because now it's listen, understand, act. So it's changed from Qualtrics. And then we talk about the experience gap, which you guys have seen. I just put this in here. This isn't in the CEO deck. But, I like to see what it is. You have to make it easy to get this feedback. I've only started seeing demos in the past couple of weeks, but this is one from Travis County in the U.S. and in the state of Texas. The particular customer we were looking for once, they were huge on analytics. I want to see analytics. I want to see analytics. So these are like real CX analytics from a customer project, and this is kind of blew their brain type of thing that they get all this information from Qualtrics. Again, I'll give you this slide. It's not sure how big your monitors are, but you're looking at things like the quality of life, overall value for taxes, overall quality of service. How do you rate the county as a place to live, grow, raise children? And then you can slice this data by household income, age. How do we collect this data? Was it from males, females? What were the key drivers for this? So a lot of really good information here. So this really impressed. We showed the state of Michigan. They loved it. Again, so lots of dashboards. It's a really, really nice solution. So then back to the kind of the CEO deck, where we're trying to put together these kind of sample use cases, and we've got a few of these coming out. And what we really want to do is we literally just finished a draft of this, so this is kind of the draft. So now we're kind of putting this together. We want to work with the IVEs in each of the region to kind of get their feedback and input, and then fine tune it, and then create different versions of these slides. So, this one is for constituent experience. So we want to change the paradigm from a taxpayer to a kind of a customer by enhancing the digital experience by offering personalized interactions with insights to improve the livability of the citizen. Okay, so what's the X data going to give us? It's going to tell us about the customer journey. Where's the customer struggling? What's their satisfaction level? What interactions are important to them? What do they think of our programs and our policies? What's their sentiment, their emotions? How much do they trust the government? then when we combine this experience data with our operational data, we can really increase the trust by like listening to, understanding our customers and delivering what they expect. We can improve program outcomes by personalizing service delivery, improving our targeting of our programs to our customers. We can improve our customer service and our operational processes based on this like customer satisfaction feedback we're getting. Is it certain, where are we dropping the balls and outlets? We're listening, we're understanding, we're acting on that by improving the service. And we're going to reduce the cost of service by offering personalized services across different channels. And then we'll typically have a quote here in the center. So Provo is a city in Utah. So they were waiting before. It used to take them months to get feedback from their citizens. Now using Qualtrics, they can get this like real-time information from the people, and they know how they're feeling about issues. So we've got a quote from the mayor here. So we've got different versions of this slide, and then the little bullets down the bottom here. You got your X data, where you're what's the X data we're tracking, like satisfaction, emotion, sentiment, voice of the customer. What's the operational data, or program goals, or cases, or KPIs, or interactions. So we're kind of merging them together. So we have, and this is what I'd love to get your feedback on, what you think of this type of slide, and then think of different variations of it. So we have one for stewardship. So governments are stewards of kind of policy. So maybe that stewardship this was created by the federal team. So again, this is like the impact of government programs, how we're stewards of the public.
Sorry for the ignorance. What does stewardship mean?
I'm trying to think how best to say it. So it's kind of the act of caring, or it's related, like you're being responsible for your caring for your citizens.
All right.
So good stewardship would be good caring for citizens. So typically, if you go on a cruise, there's a steward on the cruise, on the ship, and like he's responsible for the happiness of the ship. I think that's where it came from. So it's kind of related to that. So I didn't like the term stewardship. But it's done by the federal team, so that the federal government have it in their kind of missions. So that the EPA, the Environmental Protection Agency, stewardship of the environment and of the land is one of their mandates. They have to care for the land and the environment. So it's kind of caring. So that's why how caring is the government about their policies, whether it's a tax policy, a social benefit policy. So is this policy producing the intended outcome? Are we, feeding our poor? Are we clothing our homeless? So one of the big things that we're working on in the U.S. is a lot of the social issues are very important right now in the U.S. So like homelessness is a big issue. The opioid crisis, a lot of people are dying from like the prescription opioids, the Oxycontins. Said homelessness, suicide rates, recidivism, which is, people that go to jail, come out of jail, they end up kind of committing crimes again, going back into jail, which just costs more money. What can we do to stop them going back to jail? How can we help them, reform and get jobs and go back into society and not go back into a life of crime? So so in the US, there's a lot of like kind of caring government, which you might believe when you watch the TV. But anyway, so this is what. So are our programs meeting the goals? Are they accessible and easy to use? Are we delivering value at a program level? Are we increasing trust in government? So based on the X and the O, now when I take this experience data and look at my policy data, I can increase the effectiveness of the programs. So can I, reduce homelessness? Can I send less people back to prison and help them get jobs? Then we want to anticipate demand for programs and services. It's great. I'm serving these certain citizens right now, but what can I do to stop the problem in the first place? And homelessness is a great example that there's a kind of maybe a spiral. If you look at something going down the drain, it kind of spirals down. And homelessness is typically at the end of that spiral. You typically find that something smaller happens early on in the process. Like nobody goes from having a job and a house to all of a sudden becoming homeless. Something happens first that triggers something else, which triggers something else. And you find that if you kind of map that customer journey, if you can stop it very early on, you can prevent the homelessness in the first place. So that's what we're trying to do here with the X data and the O data. It's like, okay, if maybe they lost their job or maybe they got sick early on, and then because they were sick, they couldn't go to work, and then when they couldn't go to work, they lost their car, and then when they lost their car, they couldn't get a new job, and 9-12 months later, they become homeless. Well, if we offered better benefits early on in the process, we could have stopped them becoming homeless. So that's what we're trying to do. And connected government, again, I don't really like the term, but this is related to kind of like mobility and transit. So again, urban planning, so moving people and goods around a city, that's got a real impact to improve the quality of life and drive economic growth in a city. You hear all these studies that 40% of the traffic in a city is people looking for a parking spot. New York City is just implementing congestion charging because they want to try and cut down the number of cars coming into the city because it's taking 2 hours to drive in the morning, and the smog and the pollution in the city is bad. So how can we improve that process? So with the X data, we can get commuter satisfaction. So people coming in by the road, by cars, by motorbikes, by ferries, however they get in, let's get the satisfaction. We can get like live feedback from vehicle use and performance data. So we've got city buses, city trains, get live feedback from that. Is it on time? Is it performing well, or is it about to break down and cause a problem? Get changing demographic data and traffic usage. So who's using the buses and the trains, like what age are they, and are we seeing trends happening, and evaluating transit services to see what customers need and want. Would more people take the bus if there was Wi-Fi on the bus? Would more people take the train if there was a train every 6 minutes instead of 8 minutes? And then we can use this X and O data to obviously reduce the maintenance cost of like fixing the trains, increasing service availability, so having more trains, more buses available, increase revenue, so offer additional services as part of the train, the bus, whichever, to generate additional revenue. Maybe implement dynamic congestion charging. So now that we know what people want and we want to push them in one direction or another, if we kind of change the pricing model, we can reduce our carbon footprint by optimizing the routes to meet the demands of our customers. The citizen saying, hey, I've got to go from here to here. I can't take the bus because, there's no bus that gets me here in time. And, so I change our routes, and that's going to reduce carbon footprint because I have less cars on the road, and find new revenue sources. There's lots of ways we can sell additional stuff and then get more people to actually use the services as well. So now we have a quote here. So this is from the Transit Authority in Brussels. So they're collecting and analyzing all these data, and by better monitoring their performance of their vehicles and their network, they can make changes to offer better services to their customers and increase ridership. And increasing ridership increases revenue and reduces carbon footprint. And then like fiscal excellence, again, this is, better transparency and accountability. So again, and I won't read these out. We've only got like kind of 10 minutes left. And then mission delivery is another one, maybe kind of related to stewardship, but like, delivering your mission. And that mission might be, again, collecting taxes, service benefits, permits, how do we deliver that mission? So, understand what your recipients need when they're applying for these benefits, simplifying the process for them. And, they want this, obviously got a very US focus, advance the safety, security, and prosperity of the American people. But this is the mission of a lot of the government's agencies at the federal level. So what's the X data going to do, the O data, and how do we combine them together? So what we're trying to do, and we'll be following this up, like next steps for us will be obviously creating, I think there was maybe 5 or 6 use cases, creating more use cases. We started with the US field just because that's who was driving this process. We're going to make this more generic and then work with each of the regions to kind of get country-specific ones or region-specific ones and look for different ones. I mean, do we need a tax-specific one? Do we want one that specifically says social benefits, online services, what's important? And then follow up with integrated end-to-end demos. So when I'm in the process of applying for a building permit, Qualtrics is integrated into the demo so that as I'm online, where we're improving the experience and I can see that integrated end-to-end solution.
Quick question, Paul.
Yeah.
And what's happening out there with traditional SAP clients that had their tax or benefits solutions on-prem? Are they moving those to the cloud as well? And how is the transition happening? And how do we do with the core industry cores in a cloud strategy?
Yeah, no, that's right now that's staying in C4. So in S4. So the S4 customer management, which is the on-prem, so tax and revenue is now in S4, social is now in S4. So customers aren't putting that into the cloud yet, and customers aren't asking for that in the cloud yet, supposedly. Personally, I think we need to start now or pretty soon on building this in the cloud. Again, same as you guys, you mentioned that central government, they'll say, they're not looking for it. It's the same for a lot of governments. Even though a lot of the US is in the cloud, they have their FedRAMP stuff. The tax agencies, they're still very hesitant to put that personal information into the cloud. But I believe that it's only a matter of time before they will want it in the cloud as well. But for right now, we're just positioning the S4 customer management because that's on premise. It can be done through HEC, which is kind of that managed cloud, pseudo cloud. But we're not putting the tax or the social stuff in the C4 for right now.
So we're going for general services on the cloud and tax and benefits. We're just
in S4 HEC, yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
Thank you.
But I mean, we're trying to do our Qualtrics piece as well and listen and act.
That's easy on the cloud.
Otherwise,
it's perception.
Yeah.
No, that's all about perception. Nobody's accounts.
Yeah. Because I think it is going to come. I mean, I look at in the US. I mean, Salesforce, they've got a huge presence in the federal government, and they're not doing taxes yet, but they're doing social benefits and social cases in a secure government cloud. So I mean, to me, it's like, okay, if Salesforce are doing it and they're getting, large government agencies doing it in the cloud, now, yes, they have the advantage. The cloud it's in the US, it's in a US data center, it's a US location. What FedRAMP really means is that only US citizens work on that data. The data never leaves the country, and they've got all these stringent security requirements they have to pass. So that's not possible in every country. We don't have that infrastructure. But in the US, Azure, Google, and AWS all have government certified, FedRAMP certified clouds where we can deploy this technology in. And I think that's, again, one of the reasons that SAP is doing more work with the hyperscalers and why we're doing that Cloud Foundry edition, that, will Azure be in every country? Pretty soon they will be, or if Azure is not there, then maybe the local government telco will have a government cloud. Or maybe just the government themselves will say, right, we're going to set up a shared service and we'll be the cloud provider. And then we can deploy our technology into that government cloud, whether it's hosted by Azure, Google, the local telco, we won't care. It will be in a cloud in the country. And I think once that happens, then to me, it's like the mainframes from like 30, 40 years ago. It's the same type of thing. It's like, okay, someone is going to be the hosting provider for the country, and that's where everything will get run, and that will be the government cloud. And that's why we're working with the hyperscalers and those open technologies like Cloud Foundry, so that we can deploy all our technology. And I think when that happens, then yes, the tax agencies will say, yes, it makes a lot of sense for me to go into that government cloud, so I don't have to, buy these hardwares and maintain the servers myself.
Thank you.
So that was really all I had. I'll send this out. There is a lot of stuff in Planet Public. And I think that link, if it's not in there, I'll put it in there. So we have like a one-stop shop for CX in here. So if we go up to our opportunities in Planet Public, down here we have a Citizen Experience for Public Sector. So that's the C4HANA one-stop shop, and there's a Qualtrics for Public Sector one-stop shop as well. Reach out to me. Kathleen O'Brien and Mike Eberhardt are people from the C4 team that support the C4 suite as well as CX opportunities. Like, reach out to me, Kathleen, Mike. Like, let us know what you need from demos, from white papers. If we look at any of these, we've got like L0 decks, L1 decks. There's a list of demos. We've got videos. We try and maintain this and keep it up to date. We're always working on, so here's the link to the Christchurch video, YouTube videos on citizen engagement. We've got a lot of stuff up here. Let us know what you need, because odds are we have created it already for another customer and you just can't find it. And if we don't have it and you need it, let us know and we'll create it for you. We're committed to CX and C4. It's a huge opportunity for us as a company, and it's where government is spending money. We've got good solutions. We just need to kind of be smart about it, and I think we will be successful.
Perfect, Paul. Thank you so much. Count on that. We're going to go back to you very soon.
Yes, that's good. Thank you. Well, have a great weekend, everybody, and I'll see hopefully some of you at Sapphire.
Sure. Thank you so much again.
We'll look for you over there.
Thanks, Paul.
Thanks.
Definitely.
All right, bye.
Bye.
Thanks, Paul.
Thank you very much.